service here at First Parish in Bedford. We're so glad you have joined us today on Zoom. And we are also deeply grateful that Lee Vorderer is trying out our closed captioning for the first time today. This is an experiment. We're trying to see how it will go. So we welcome your feedback afterward later today. Speaking of experiments, gosh, we are doing them all the time in this community that is creative and resilient in the face of the many constraints we face. And so one experiment is that we are going to be having a pop-up plant fair. And no, it is not a pants auction. In case you saw that typo, it is a plants auction. And so this is a opportunity to put some of your plants up online to be purchased and bid upon, and to find some plants you might like. It starts today, folks. Today at noon, you can start bidding on those plants, and you can donate through Friday of this week. The idea is that they'll be exchanged by doing a pickup and drop off in the driveway or porch so we can stay safe and social distance. So please check out the website that Kath Van Prague has sent around. That's octria.com/auction/plantauction2020. And that will be a great way to participate in this time-honored tradition in a new creative way. One other creative experiment that we are having today is that we're going to try to do an opt-in breakout group at Community Hour after worship in preparation for offering a session with the Peace and Justice folks next week. So we're going to try and see how it goes. So if you're excited to give that a whirl, stay logged in and you can follow the instructions to try that out. We do gather today to do some mourning with that which weighs heavy on our hearts. There are so many things to mourn. And we also gather with that creative and persistent love that marks our community. And in that spirit, we will join in our unison affirmation. Please rise as makes sense in your setting and your body. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y ayudarnos los unos a otros.
Morning, everyone. Again, this week we welcome an international guest. This time our friend Nangroi Suting, General Secretary of the Unitarian Union in Northeast India. Nangroi and his wife Bari are with us this morning live from Shillong in the state of Meghalaya in the Khasi Hills of Northeast India. So everybody give them a wave. Nangroi is a teacher and a church visitor there. He's also worked and studied in the US and been here to Bedford. For a time, he and our former minister, Megan Lyons, lived together at the Beacon Hill Friends House in Boston. Along with 2,000 invited guests, I attended Nangroi and Bari's wedding in India. And I recall climbing a ladder to the roof of a school bus in my suit to attend their wedding reception. They now have 2 beautiful children. Today, there are about 10,000 Unitarians in the Khasi Hills in the state of Meghalaya in Northeast India, about 40 congregations. This is a matrilineal culture and a tribal culture, not Hindu. It is part of India which in the 19th century made it ripe for made it ripe for European missionaries. Like many others, an exceptional leader named Hajom Kisor Singh was converted to Welsh Calvinism. After a while, however, Singh had his doubts. Why so much hellfire and brimstone, he wondered. What happened to the simple, loving gospel of Jesus? The missionaries looked at him crossly. You sound like a Unitarian, they accused him. How can I learn more? He responded. Singh was put in touch with a Unitarian minister named Charles Dahl in Calcutta. Dahl, believe it or not, had been our minister here in Bedford. He was fired from Bedford after only a few months' service in 1855, and in desperation, he went to India, where he lived the rest of his life. Singh and Dahl corresponded, and with the help of others, the Unitarian Church was founded there in 1887. Their faith thrives as a vibrant amalgam of traditional native religion and diverse other sources, promoting education, the development of self and community, and respect for differences. I have been to the Khasi Hills several times. Kathy Cortez has also been there, as have Diana Feiner and Judy Curcio, Adrian Ballou, and Eric Gibbons. We must go again. The Khasi Unitarian greeting is Kublai, blessings, and their slogan is Tu Nangroi, keep on progressing. And so we are one around the world, and this morning we welcome Nangroi Suting. Kublai.
Dear brothers and sisters at the First Parish Unitarian Church, Bedford, I am Nangroi Suting from Khasi Hills, Northeast India. My greetings and prayer to all of you during this difficult pandemic time. Reverend John Gibbons updated me on and off through emails about the situation in Bedford, and we keep on watching the news. It is sad to see how the number of infected people rises every day. In India too, numbers are on the rise day by day, but we should not lose hope. It's tough to follow strict protocols, but until we find a cure, there's no alternative. We are lucky in Khasi Hills. There were COVID-19 in the past few days, but it has come down to zero with the quick action taken by the government. Out of 13 infected, 1 succumbed and 12 recovered. It's not yet over. Since the last 2 days, students studying in mainland India are returning home, mostly from red zone. We have quarantine centers in every nooks and corners, even in the villages where they come from, hoping they will be fine. We should not lose hope, but do our best and cooperate so that we can safeguard ourselves, our families, and society as a whole. May the worship we have today inspires and strengthen our bonds and be the light to give us energy to overcome the challenges we face together. Kublai, thank you. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. And because we have been calling this series, We Are One Around the World, we wanted to share this piece of music written by the Canadian composer Brian Tate, which is called We Are One. And we have images of Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists from around the world, which we hope you will enjoy at the same time.
When we walk,
when we sleep,
when we rise,
we are one.
And that definitely is the feeling that we have, Nangroi and Barry. It's so good to see you. And we will move on now in our service, and we will go to our time for all ages. And so I am glad to share with you a story that is called Rabbitiness, which I hope you enjoy. By Joe Empson. Rabbit liked doing rabbity things. Rabbit liked hopping. Rabbit liked jumping. Rabbit liked twirling his whiskers. Rabbit liked washing his ears. Rabbit liked burrowing. And Rabbit liked sleeping. Rabbit also liked doing unrabbity things. He liked painting and making music. This made Rabbit very happy. It made him so happy. All the other rabbits caught his happiness. He filled the woods with color and music. It was beautiful. And then one day, Rabbit disappeared. The other rabbits were very sad. They couldn't find him anywhere. The woods were quiet and gray, and all that Rabbit had left was a hole, a deep, dark hole. But down in the deep, dark hole, Rabbit had left them some gifts. There were lots of things to make color and music. In time, all the rabbits discovered that they liked doing unrabbity things too. And this made them think about Rabbit, which made them very happy. In fact, it made them so happy that they filled the woods with color and music once again. Rabbit's gifts and memory lingered on. And that is the end of our time for all ages.
Thank you for that beautiful story that moves us perfectly into our joys and sorrows, led with me by Nancy Doherty.
Hi. I'd like to welcome everyone to come and invite you to share any of your joys and sorrows. I believe, Annie, did we put them on the chat? And
That's
then
right.
Or we'll read them together.
That's right. We will read them together from the chat, and I've also received some via email that I will read as well.
Okay. And we'll have a moment for one last virtual candle for all those joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We are going to take a moment to sit a little bit with grief. This can be a difficult thing to do. There are a million ways to keep the pain at bay. I know that for me, sometimes I want to keep it at bay. I don't want to feel my own personal disappointments at all the things that I am losing in this time, the events and the relationships that are distant or put on hold or canceled or postponed. I know that I don't want to take in the losses of the people that I know who have died, who are sick. I don't want to take in the epic loss happening on such a large scale, the injustice that is happening and making so much of it worse, the job loss and the poverty and the people going hungry in this time. It's too much. And it is too much. So it's understandable that we want to keep it away with maybe a TV show or some food or staying so busy that we can't think, or some alcohol or some other way that we hold it off. And then sometimes we feel it, but we hold it in. We hold in the pain and try to squeeze it down and compact it, and we don't let it out. We don't tell anyone. We think that if we can hold it, maybe we can control it. Maybe we can make it somehow be manageable, the fear and the grief. But that also is not the way. Instead, we have to do the incredibly simple and incredibly difficult practice of feeling sad and angry and scared, and letting it move through us, not holding it tight in our throat, in our stomach, in our muscles, in our back, in our mind, but letting it out. One practice that helps me do that is to sing, and I wish that we could sing all together. It's not as possible on Zoom in a meaningful way, but I do invite you to join in singing this next song I will play, as you are able on your own under mute. It's a very simple tune that I learned from a Jewish UU colleague. It's written by a woman named Ali Halpert, and it's called Loosen. It has two simple parts, and I hope you will join in as a way to feel and let go.
Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Holy breath, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
The words to the Appalachian song, Bright Morning Stars, lives in my head. It is a Decoration Day song handed down through the centuries, coming from its roots in the British Isles to the transplanted hollers of Kentucky, West Virginia, and North Carolina. The rough and haunting song asks, "Oh, where are our dear mothers?" And the response returns, "They are down in the valley praying." And then, "Where are our dear fathers?" And the response, "They have gone to heaven shouting." The song can be traced back as far as 1854, where it was sung in mountain communities and then appeared in a 1918 Baptist hymn book. It was picked up by song catchers Alan and Elizabeth Lomax in Harlan County, Kentucky in 1937. And after that, it showed up as part of folk music. And it endures to this day. It is a song of memory and honoring of our beloved dead. Why am I telling you this? Decoration Day, now known more commonly as Memorial Day, was begun not long after bright morning stars surfaced in the South. 3 years after the Civil War ended on May 5th, 1868, the head of an organization of Union veterans established Decoration Day as a time for the nation to decorate the graves of the war dead with flowers. Major General John A. Logan declared that Decoration Day should be observed on May 30th. And it's believed that this date was chosen because flowers would be in bloom all over the country. The first large observance was held that year at Arlington National Cemetery across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. Local springtime tributes to the Civil War dead had already been held in various places, including Columbus, Mississippi, where on April 25th, 1866, a group of women visited a cemetery to decorate the graves of Confederate soldiers who had fallen in battle at Shiloh. Nearby were the graves of Union soldiers, neglected because they were the enemy. Disturbed at the sight of the bare graves, the women placed some of their flowers on those graves as well. This fed the tradition of women and children and later families packing a picnic, their garden tools, and gathering flowers on the hillside to decorate and honor the graves of those who had made the ultimate sacrifice in battle. Those who had died at that time, all men, were the heroes that we stopped to honor as we pulled weeds and trimmed the grass around the headstones. The practice caught on. Approximately 25 places have claimed the distinction of being the first town in their region to hold observances. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Savannah, Georgia, Waterloo, New York, among them. But today, of course, if you drive through most any town in New England or in other communities in the United States, you will see flags flying, flowers placed on graves, and people visiting those who have gone before. This year, we will pause today or tomorrow or this week to remember those who have served our country with honor and with deep dedication. Those beloved dead will include members of this congregation and members of our families as well. I will be thinking of my father-in-law, Dick Soul, who served during both World War II and the Korean conflict. Although it will be a bit rowdy and cacophonous, I want to pause for a moment now and ask Annie to unmute you so that if you have a name to add to those who have served, you can give voice to their service and sacrifice.
Richard Huff.
John Lorderer.
George Winkler.
John Bergen.
Robert Redmond.
Donald Lynch.
Edward
Epple.
Mary Lynch.
Steve Bergen Jr.
Okay.
Alvin W. Rogers.
Charlie Cullen.
We put our hand.
Jeremiah Lynch.
Uncle Jesse.
Wayne Wessenberg.
Thank you, everyone. And as we remember those people, we know that this year will be different. This year, among those we honor, let us not forget those who have died at the nearby VA hospital. Let us not forget those in the soldiers' homes around the state, in private communities, and let us not forget all the others who have died of COVID-19 in these last months, whether they served in the military or were just people like us, and whose lives were sacrificed when advanced planning and prevention might have saved them. All of them, we remember them. They have gone to heaven shouting. And I pray that we will continue to hear their voices as we carry their legacies forward.
I am here to introduce our offering, and I think by now you can find your way to our web page and the Give Plus button, where you're given a choice of contributing to your pledge or making a donation, much as you would if the offering bag passed by in your pew. The offering is a very clear reminder that we are responsible for our own faith community. And so it is not symbolic, but it is most real. These are the words of Alfred North Whitehead, the philosopher. The secret of happiness, he says, lies in knowing this, that we live by the law of expenditure. We find the greatest joy not in getting, but in expressing what we are. There are tides in the ocean of life, and what comes in depends upon what goes out. The currents flow inward only where there is an outlet. Nature does not give to those who will not spend. Her gifts are merely loaned to those who will not use them. Freely we have received, freely give for the good work of this community, far, far beyond these virtual walls. Our offering will gratefully be received.
Okay, everyone. So now we're going to sing together. We're going to have Steve play with us. We know that Zoom is imperfect for this, but at least Zoom allows us all to hear one another, to be with each other. Had this been 10 years ago, we wouldn't have any of this. So let's celebrate being together, and let's sing together as we sing My Life Flows On in Endless Song. Here we go. 1, 2. My life flows on in endless song.
Above
The
real
real, the far off depends on new creation.
Through all the tumult and the strife, I
hear the music
bringing
Music
Sounds an echo in my soul, and I keep on singing.
A few days ago, Trump ordered all churches to reopen. Now, as you know, I am not a big fan of Zoom worship and preaching. Now, however, I must admit that I'm liking all of this just a little bit better, in as much as what we're doing here is now considered an act of civil disobedience. Zoom as an act of conscience, online worship as a disobedient act of resistance to recklessness, stupidity, and greed. So, roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer, those days of soda and pretzels and beer. But first, Memorial Day. As a child growing up outside of Chicago, my parents and I did the same thing every Memorial Day. A flat of geraniums was put in the trunk of the car along with a trowel and grass shears and an old wicker picnic basket that we still have around the house here someplace. And we'd drive to the ancestral town of Sandwich, Illinois, population 7,370, where we'd meet some aunts and cousins at the cemetery. We'd trim the grass and plant the geraniums around a cluster of graves, descendants of my maternal great-grandfather, Dwight Kent, D.K. Crowfoot, a dry goods merchant and founder of the Sandwich Cemetery. D.K. and his wife, Minnie, were long gone, but we were joined at the cemetery by some combination of their 5 beautiful daughters, my grandmother, Olive, and her sisters, Clara and Hannah and Doris and Hazel. At the time, to me, they seemed very, very old. Probably they were about the age I am now. We'd wander and read the names and dates on the other graves and find the grave of their one brother, Ralph, who died at age 12 of consumption, tuberculosis. With a couple of other kids, I'd climb around on a big old Civil War cannon, and finally we'd water the geraniums, and then we adjourned to a nearby creek with a picnic table, and there were several wicker picnic baskets, and we'd eat chicken and deviled eggs and pie. The adults would drink coffee out of glass thermoses, and usually my cousin Kathy would go down to the creek and go swimming in her underwear, which never failed to make her mother Jean, that was Clara's daughter, hopping mad. And well, the rest of us were greatly entertained by Kathy and Jean's annual arguments. Eventually, the least responsible of the adults, another cousin named Light Thompson. As a child, my mother couldn't pronounce his given name, Dwight, and so Light would pile us kids into his convertible, and on the straightaway that paralleled the CB&Q railroad tracks, he'd barrel down the road at 100 miles an hour or so, no seatbelts, of course, to the A&W, where we'd all have brown cows. Finally, we'd at last go home, and on the car radio, we'd listen to the Indianapolis 500. And if the silence of the cemetery made us voyeurs to mortality, and if Light's driving didn't scare the bejesus out of us and our parents, then the screaming engines of A.J. Foyt and Parnelli Jones would taunt death at every turn. You know, Memorial Day ain't nothing without memento mori. Cemeteries, like our nearby Sleepy Hollow, successors to the older skull and crossbone graveyards, were founded by Unitarians and Transcendentalists as places of beauty and inspiration where the living and the dead could peaceably coexist, an opportunity for the living to contemplate mortality without fear. And yet, as you have surely noticed, so many of those graves are those of children, as young or younger than that of Ralph Crowfoot. Our forebears were no strangers to grief. Today, of course, there is great global suffering, pain, loss, and mourning. I am attracted, however, to the words of Reverend William Barber, who calls for this time now to be one of prophetic mourning. What might that mean? I say it means that it is up to us, the living, to make meaningful the losses that now abound. As Archibald MacLeish said in his poem, The Young Dead Soldiers, our deaths are not ours, they are yours. They will mean what you make them mean. Give them their meaning. Pray for the dead, said Mother Jones, and fight like hell for the living. Friends, satisfying though it is for the church to have left the building and for us to be civilly disobedient, we all want this to be over as soon as possible. Lasting as the damage and the changes will be, my still greater fear is that there will be a powerful urge to make America fill in the blank again. Our greatest spiritual challenge, therefore, is to keep faith with the fallen, to look at the exposed realities of our lives without flinching, and to hold fast to a vision of a renewed, better, smarter, and kinder world. You'll recall the voices from the cemetery of Grover's Corners in Thornton Wilder's Our Town, where at last Emily says, let's really look at one another. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that was going on and we never noticed. Wait, one more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Mama and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers and food and coffee and new ironed dresses and hot baths and sleeping and waking up. Oh, earth, You are too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute? Beloveds, time only seems slow right now. Truly, it goes so fast. May we take time to notice, to savor, to grieve, and to act. When I've gone on retreat to the Zen Mountain Monastery in upstate New York, the last prayer of the day is the evening Gatha. Let me respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly and opportunity is lost. Each of us should strive to awaken. Take heed. Do not squander your life. And then, eventually, roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. But for now, I'm done. Amen.
Beloveds, take a moment today to honor your grief, the dead, the loss, with a flower in a vase, with a song you sing or play, with a breath, a ritual, a sharing of a memory. And then take a moment for the sunshine and the appreciation of this earth that is beyond what we could ever know and appreciate. This is the way for this Memorial Day especially. And now to an interlude, closing music.
And I would like to say a few words about what you're now going to see. This was arranged by a friend of mine, Tim Harbold. He is a professor and the conductor of an international choir at Wheaton College. He's also leader of a gospel choir at Old South in Boston, and is hired many times to conduct choirs of many different races. He arranged this spiritual. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child because of something that was in him, something that's in all of us. As Deb mentioned earlier, the idea for Decoration Day came after the Civil War, when this country was torn apart over issues, torn apart over slavery. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child is a devastating spiritual that gets in touch with the loss of slaves, when they not only lost loved ones, their mother, any of them, they use this song to grieve. This arrangement can help us all grieve. And as we look at these images, let's not forget those who have suffered and have lost in all circumstances. That is what Memorial Day is truly about.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child.
So once again, to those words made famous and attributed to Mother Jones, let us pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. We go to Steve for our postlude.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to join now in some community hour time. Annie, I think, is going to be ready to split us into groups.